Google released a AI co-scientist paper.
Yes.
Jamie, pull that up.
In the vein of AI creating novel economic value and ideas, we are right at the cusp of AI breaking through and actually creating novel information that humanity didn't know before. These are not stochastic parrots. They never really were, but they just needed...
That's a big word.
Thank you.
That's a very nice word. Okay.
They just derail the conversation. I really think we're on the cusp of when these things are going to start like adding to humanity's knowledge rather than just regurgitating humanity's knowledge.
Yeah.
As the architecture gets better and better. So what they did was create an AI scientist essentially that's trained on the scientific model, and it essentially just debates itself for a long time, figuring out what the most likely hypothesis is, how to test that hypothesis, and so on. And I do believe it actually made a novel discovery through this process for beta amyloid something or others.
Yeah. But what's interesting though is also like there's a chart down here which at least even if it doesn't accelerate, like even if it doesn't create new discoveries, if you keep going down, just to show that, yeah. So like even if it doesn't create new discoveries per se, it dramatically accelerates the timeline that it takes for a scientist to come up with hypotheses, tests hypotheses, rank stuff. So like on the left here, you see a conventional experimental pipeline where it would take like maybe years to come up with like experimental results demonstrating a certain thing. Whereas with the assistance of this co-scientist, it dramatically speeds things up from like years to potentially 1 year and a few days. So it's very interesting that like even if it doesn't create new discoveries per se, it dramatically accelerates scientific discoveries, I guess.
Now the fear here is like, how does security fit into this? Because we're starting to get processes that are so complex the AI is doing that we are going to struggle to keep up with going line by line through its reasoning and figuring out, okay, you didn't make any hallucinations or mistakes. So there is a giant gap in the market right now for, I don't know, an AI that analyzes other AI's logical reasoning steps, potentially.
But even just like, again, human in the loop verification of agent actions. Because I feel like this is the kind of stuff too where, like, imagine hooking up a AI to like an actual tool that interacts with lab equipment.
Yes.
That's where shit can go a little sideways real fast. So you do want to make sure that, you know, your AI co-scientist isn't, you know, mixing two chemicals together that could potentially create like nerve gas or
and
something.
There's really not a lot that you can do right now other than manually code this up.
Correct, yeah.
Like you have to manually write in a human-in-the-loop software into this agent itself.
Yeah.
Like agents open up an enormous attack surface area.
Yeah.
Enormous.
Yeah.
So much more than before.
Yeah.
Where there was really just prompt injection and like jailbreaks.
Yeah.
Those are the two big ones.
And even if it's like it's attack surface combined with a lot of I guess planning in regards to like the infrastructure of your AI agents.
Yeah.
Because obviously like you can create, like if you have an idea of like what your AI agent should be doing, you can create your infrastructure with security in mind so that like it's basically impossible for like an agent to RMRF stuff, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's just a lot of foresight.
The complexity is growing enormously, but I don't think the security is keeping up at all. So let me show you though an example of a very simple agent that you can build today. And here's why we're always talking about them, because once you build one agent, you realize it's a hammer for every nail. Every task you do on a computer can be automated through LLMs. So let me show you an example here. I used Amazon Bedrock to build this out. Amazon Bedrock is Amazon's agent builder service, and it's very simple. You can see you take user input, it feeds it to the first agent. The first agent has Twitter's OpenAPI specification in its knowledge base, like a RAG database. You ask it, get me all the tweets that mention protect AI, and here's my bearer token. And yes, this bearer token is revoked. Feel free to try it. I'm not gonna blur it out. It reads that, and then it looks up inside the API specification, how do I do that using the API calls? And then it generates the code to do that. Feeds that code into a Lambda function, which executes the code. The output of that execution is the API response from Twitter, which is, you know, the most recent tweets that mention protect AI. And a second agent then parses the API output and gives it back to the human in human readable context. So you see it says, get me recent tweets, mention protect AI, and here's the recent tweets. AI doesn't just trade, it protects, because there's AI and protect there. AI and zero trust platform for protection, and so on and so forth. This is, I think, going to be a very common pattern for documentation reading and stuff like that, because I don't want to go to your documentation and just read through it to figure out how to make an API call. I wanted the bots just do it.
There are some like if you go to the Claude documentation right now, you can search using Claude the documentation. So there is some of that, but I'm surprised like a lot of open source projects having it. There isn't like at least not my knowledge, there isn't like some sort of open source documentation project that allows you to basically query documentation using an LLM. You know, that kind of
I've
stuff.
seen some projects that try, but none of them are perfect.
Are perfect, yeah.
But like, think about this. I mean, this didn't take me more than a day to build this out.
Yeah.
You could do this for all kinds of stuff. You could have an LLM monitoring agent.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, a router monitoring agent. Your internet goes down, it logs into your router, it pokes around, it resets it, it checks the internet for an outage in your area. You know, you could have a software or a site reliability engineer agent. Or an agent just running that just optimizes your code, Austin. It's just everything you do, grocery shopping.
Everything, from like the small stuff to like building out like a large scale infrastructure.
We're at that point where this is going to start taking over all of these small tasks.
Yep, agreed.
Which is a little scary.
Yeah, and that's why we need to focus on protecting AI.
That's right.